world was young, the mountains green, no stain yet on the moon was seen. Then with a crash came a great ringing shout, Ra, Ra! 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie.
Talking about Tolkien.
It's talking about dramatic pause. Tolkien. Nate.
Yeah. It's a very dramatic episode.
It's the penultimate episode.
Chapter X, Ben.
Chapter X.
Of Book 2 of Fellowship of the Ring.
The Great River.
Boy, I related to this chapter with how my fucking week was going. Everyone's like, God, it's so gloomy, so shitty. It's just like, it's a depressing, long drag of a journey that we're forced to be on.
And at the end, we all die.
Yeah. There you go.
It's a journey to your death. So you have that to look forward to at the end.
I figure that, when you get to be old enough, you're kind of like ready to go. You're like, wow.
Bro.
Fucking, I'm done.
I hope by old enough you mean like 37, because I'm ready. I keep thinking, like, it's just going to get worse. See, Tolkien always talks about fighting the long defeat, but, like, it's both taken way longer and not as long as I thought it would.
You never know, Ben. We might get a good king, and we might stretch this out for another few centuries.
I don't know if Queen AOC will be able to run or reign for 100 years.
If she gets enough of that child blood, like that 1 billionaire.
The 538 people are predicting AOC is going to be the next Democratic nominee. And I guess it would have to be her, because who else is there? Bernie's just going to drop.
Bernie, I think, has already said he's not going to run
that would
again,
be insane,
because he can't. Even though dude is sharper than the last, let's say, 3 presidents. God.
Yeah, that bar is a gas line buried under the earth.
Yeah, no, I guess that's all there is.
Their second choice was my own governor, Josh Shapiro.
Hey, they considered him as a possible VP pick.
He's a pretty inoffensive white man. He's got that going for him.
Yeah. There's also Tim Walz.
No, I don't know.
I don't think he's a presidential pick, though. I think he's VP for life. I think that's about as high as he's going to get.
Yeah. Well, you want to talk about the greatest river rafting trip ever?
Yeah. Boy, howdy, were there rivers, and there were rafts. And there were a lot of landmarks that he threw at me that I don't know about, and maybe you'll be able to help out.
Maybe. I have some of them. Do you want to try to do a summary, or?
Yeah, let's do a summary.
Okay,
that's what I'm here for.
Burnt.
I am burnt from life in general right now, but we'll see. We'll just see.
Do you think by the time we get to the end of Return of the King, we're sitting on the floor with our microphones of whatever group home we're first to live in after the economy collapsed, do you think Frodo's going to destroy the ring and we're going to be like, there is hope. There is hope out there. And then they get back and the Shire's ruined.
I think I've mentioned this before. I've never completed the trilogy. I got to him destroying the ring, and I think I got to after that, but I never got to the Scouring of the Shire.
I think you were just too young. Because if you could get through the Fellowship, I don't know.
Well, my dad was reading these to me, so.
Yeah. I was going to say, because if you could get through, like, the Tom Bombadil and the Barrow Downs and all that stuff, I think that's the part where most people kind of lose it. But yeah, so we're going down the river.
Boy, are we going down this river. You know what? No sign of the enemy, so we don't need to use our oars. We're just going to go at a leisurely pace. We are going to raft. We're going to get up extra early as if we have to, I don't know, drive to a zoo. And then we are going to raft late into the night, I don't know, as if we don't realize that we have to drive to the zoo the next day. And that was something that maybe you forgot or maybe was told to you weeks ago, and everyone knows you have ADHD, so like you didn't realize, and then suddenly at like 7 in the morning you're like, oh, I have to drive like 140 miles one way to the. Okay, all right.
But the
No,
thing is, when you get to the zoo,
that's on me. That's
you're
on me.
either going to
for
have to get off at the West Bank or the East Bank, and maybe you're taking the long way because you want to postpone that decision.
Yeah, yeah. You don't get on the highway. You start going by the old roads, the roads that like only the farmers use. You know, the 2-lane no shoulder roads that you can't go more than like 40 on without accidentally like running off the road or hitting a deer or something. That, but in river form, is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, we haven't found any sign of enemies, and so they just keep going, and eventually they get to the Brown Lands. Ben, my first point where I wonder if you had lore, because Aragorn is like, yeah, this place has been decimated, and he wondered what the enemy had done to decimate it. So, but I don't know, Ben. Is there something that the enemy did? This is like just south of Mirkwood.
I don't think I have lore for this. I
Oh
don't.
my god.
The enemy did this recently,
Oh.
so this is recent destruction, which means the orcs. They should be on the lookout, because it's like they said in Lorien, if you don't go now, you're not going because they're here.
Yeah.
And I think this is what he's seeing, the ravages of war. They're starting to burn stuff down. They're looting and pillaging, all that.
Interesting. Okay. So this was not the case back when Bilbo traveled through
No,
Mirkwood.
nor was it, I think, the case the last time Aragorn was through here.
Oh, wow.
And forgive me if you've skipped over this. I can't remember. Is this before or after they realize that there is a log with eyes following them?
This is way before that.
Okay.
I'll get to that.
Okay.
But yeah, there's green on the right and brown on the left, and sure, it'd be easy to go to that green side. You just go onto that side and take a quick hike down to Minas Tirith with your good pal Boromir. But they also point out that orcs, they're hanging out in this region now. The Brown Lands are part of it, but also they frequently are going across the Anduin into Rohan and raiding and pillaging.
Yeah, no one's really. We'll get into what's happening with Rohan in the Two Towers, because there's actually a pretty detailed military discussion going on there. There's a couple of important territorial points the orcs are trying to seize in Rohan, and these are Saruman's armies.
Oh my god, he's back, guys.
But I think on the West Bank, you're dealing with Sauron's armies.
Yeah.
So,
but his armies are going across the river to raid too. That river doesn't confine him, Ben.
And this whole time, everybody's kind of just not talking much. We're all just sort of thinking about how screwed we are.
Yeah.
Boromir just keeps staring at Frodo's hand.
He's biting his nails. He keeps getting closer to. They say it's Aragorn's boat, but Frodo's in that boat too, and he's muttering himself. And the hobbits are just like looking at him, like, "What the fuck?
You okay, buddy?
Shut up. Are you? Are you gonna be all right?" Legolas is over there dreaming with his superior elfish mind that he's in a summer glade, as if he were actually there right now, just like all of us can do, right? Right? We can all do that. And then Sam is like, "Hey, Mr. Frodo." I keep calling you Mr. Frodo because that's just how I am. There's this weird thing. I had this weird dream I thought I was just like going crazy, but I have to tell you, I saw a log. It was gaining on Boromir's ship, and had eyes. And then I thought I was just like imagining things. Yeah, I just got the little sleep in my eye. Maybe got the river madness because the river is a horrible, horrible place, and anyone who ever goes on one is a crazy person. And I don't know how you guys are doing this, but as soon as I was like, "Oh shit, eyes!" They disappeared. And then Frodo's like, I would ordinarily call you insane, Sam. What with you being on the river and like being in the fetal position for 8 hours every single day. But I've also been seeing weird eyes, and I'm pretty sure that was Gollum. Pretty sure
Yeah.
Gollum has been following us since Moria, so he was there in Moria, Ben.
So I wanted to address this. I'm going to read the quote because this was something we had a big question about.
Okay.
So Frodo says, I suppose he was lurking in Moria and picked up our trail then. I had hoped our stay in Lorien would throw him off the scent, but the miserable creature must have been off hiding in the woods by the silver load. And then later on, Frodo brings these concerns to Aragorn, and Aragorn has also noticed that he padded after them all through Moria. So we were thinking, was Gollum following them before that and then ran into Moria with them? I think Gollum was actually in Moria.
Yes. I thought he was in Moria because they were talking about feet that were silent like a few steps after they had stopped. And I was like, wait, is that Gollum? And then no one brought attention to it. But I think, yeah, he had to have already been in Moria. He couldn't get into the gate.
Yeah. So I think that's what happened, is like he was in like further north of the mountains before. This time he was hiding out in Moria, probably because that was just a convenient entrance for him to get into. I don't know if he was trying to cross through. I don't know if it's a coincidence that he, or like Iluvatar, but I don't know if Gollum had planned to encounter Frodo.
The dream god sent him a dream to go to Moria.
Yeah, but I think it's just one of those things where Gollum was in Moria, and maybe we'll see. I don't remember all of Gollum's speeches. Gollum is one character that is like thoroughly mixed with the movies for me in my brain.
Yeah.
So we will need to tackle the Two Towers. I'm not sure if he ever tells them why he was there.
Because remember, the last time we saw Gollum, he was in fact some sort of weird cave monster, and definitely not a hobbit.
And still kind of is. It had paddle-like feet, almost like a swan's, only they seemed bigger and kept dipping in and out of the water. Two pale eyes, shiny-like, and they kind of glow. Like, he's still kind of described as Gollum. I mean, Tolkien's saying he was transformed by the ring, but this is where the retcon...
Little column A, little column B.
The retcon wore a little thin.
Bilbo decided to play up Gollum's monstrous features, that was Bilbo's fault.
And he was like 6 feet tall and just ripped. I don't know where he was getting all this protein down there, but definitely not an emaciated, toothless old man.
And he also had he also had like 3 degrees, but I still outsmarted him. That's why I need that to be clear. He was ripped. He was smart as hell, but I outsmarted and also outran him.
He was like one of those Cambridge professors, if you can even call them that. Not like us Oxford men, you know what I'm saying?
Goddamn right.
I don't know if they have a rivalry. They all sound silly
pretentious
and to me.
Yeah. Aragorn knew about Gollum, and they try to confront him. He bails, and they don't see him anymore. But they think that he's stirring up trouble. He's drawing attention to the group now because they see, what was it? They see a hunting eagle far from the mountains and a ton of other birds.
Yeah, they're definitely worried that they have been scouted. And spoiler, they have been scouted.
Spoilers, yes, because now we're going to talk a lot about the Sam Gabir, Sarn Gabir. Sam Gerber. A
Oh,
lot of rocks jutting out of the river and shit. And then as they are being drawn towards those rocks, they're like, quick, paddle to the other side. And that's when the orcs attacked. And they started firing arrows, slapdash in the general direction of the Fellowship, hitting Mithril, Hood, and a boat, and then nothing else.
Yeah, and I think this is where it slows way down in this chapter. This is like the least amount of highlights I have had of any chapter the whole book.
Yeah, I don't have very many points.
But it's slowing down because it's like very much a calm before a storm kind of moment. You're just like,
what are you talking about? Are you saying that something bad's going to happen soon?
There's a tension here.
The breaking of the Fellowship for brunch?
Nobody's talking. Boromir is kind of losing it.
He just look. They didn't have nail clippers, okay, and he needed to trim those down so he could work more efficiently.
Do you think Frodo ever told Boromir that he let Tom Bombadil try the ring on? I bet that would be the last straw. When Tom Bombadil asked him for the ring, he just gave it to him. Boromir's like, "Oh, okay. Well, is it because my boots aren't yellow? Is that what this is?"
Yeah, and your singing sucks, man. I'm sorry. I just have to tell you the truth. You have contributed no songs to this Fellowship.
Okay,
and I've been waiting for you to step up. I've been giving you opportunities. I have yet to hear a pleasant song. We've been on this river for 5 days. You've had so much time.
That's because I'm in the brass section. I'm the Horn of Gondor.
That's always been your excuse.
And I blow, yeah, because I'm a great trumpeter.
Yeah, that's what your girlfriend told me last night.
So yeah, they decide, and this was somewhat confusing to me. I think they try to travel by night.
Yes, they start traveling by night and resting by day. But then they have to switch things up again because they get to the point where Aragorn is like, well, I don't know this far south down the river, and if I try to navigate by night, I will get us all killed in a river accident. So we have to switch things up. He also traveled further than he expected. The river is a lot faster than he thought.
Yeah, that's another problem is he's winding up. I'm trying to figure out based on my highlights where we are, because one of the nights they're traveling
on the river, Ben.
Yeah, I know. One of the nights we're traveling by night, though, or maybe this is after the night of the first
the attack.
The night of the first attack when they
and they get out to the other bank, and Legolas gets his bow out. And he's looking for targets, and then some sort of fast-moving flying creature descends on them. Legolas shoots it, and that's the end of hostilities for the night. What was that? Was that one of those things the Nazgul ride?
Yeah, that was a flying Nazgul.
Was the Nazgul there? I figured he was too, because Frodo was talking about his wound was coming. He's feeling that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So the ring wraiths are back in action. I mean, this is what I mean about like the suspense building. Like, they're screwed. They've been screwed the whole time, really. It's been hopeless the whole time. But now they have to go on this West Bank, and it's like, again, I think Tolkien's trying to make it plausible that they'll go to Gondor. Because they're just, yeah, they're supposed to take the ring to Mordor, but like, how the hell are they going to get there? You might as well just hand it to them if you cross the bank. Like, their ring wraiths are in the sky shooting lasers. I mean, Legolas tagged one, but I don't know if it actually took it out of the game or just, hurt it.
I think at least hurt it enough that it's not going to be a problem for a moment. Because he has that Lorien bow. Now, if he would have shot that with his shitty Mirkwood bow, I mean, do you think that the 8 of them could have taken one ring wraith? I think it's conceivable that they could have at least warded it off. I mean, start a big fire.
Yeah.
Now, if the orcs start coming over the river,
that was my thing. Yeah.
You're going to be in some trouble.
Can they take one ring wraith? Yeah, maybe on, if it's on Weathertop in the heart of the Shire and you've got, but with an army of orcs at its back, all they need to do is find a way across the river. Every second you spend, can it delay you long enough to?
Yeah, I think the plan would be like, Frodo, you got to run, and we're just gonna have to do a delaying action, and
it's not riding a horse anymore; it's riding a.
Yeah,
I forget what they call them, but it's pretty intense. So you're gonna have to fight that too. But Gimli says it reminds him of the. It's all but confirmed. It's a ring wraith. So Gimli says that the thing reminded him of the shadow of the Balrog. And Frodo says it was not a Balrog, and that's when his wound hurts him. And he says it was something colder. I think it was. And then Boromir leans in, like eyes gleaming. What do you think? What do you think it was, Frodo?
What was it? Huh? I need to know. Tell me what it was, Frodo.
Frodo goes, I think. No, I'm not going to say it. Whatever it is, let's just say that if it fell, it's going to disappoint our enemies. And Aragorn's like, I agree. Everyone, shut up. You remember what I said back in the Midgewater Marsh about not talking about ring wraiths? Now you got me saying it. Shut up. Everybody, shut up.
Well, yeah. He also mentions that Galadriel had one of the 3 rings, and Aragorn was like, I don't think even I should have known that. You should have not have said anything.
I did forget about that. Yeah, when Frodo's just like, she had a great ring too, and Aragorn's like, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that, Frodo. Shut the fuck up. Did she tell you that they're invisible to other people? And like, that implied shut up? You're being a real Pippin right now, Frodo.
Speaking of, we haven't heard shit from Pippin, I think, since we left Moria.
That's because the last thing I've heard from Pippin is then Pippin, who sat in the bow looking back, caught a queer gleam in Boromir's eye as he peered forward, gazing at Frodo. I think Pippin's a little weirded out right now, sitting next to the serial killer. Like,
he's biting his nails off and chatting to himself. Yeah,
I think Pippin is wisely shutting up right now.
Yeah. I think even he recognizes. I'm just gonna shut up and hang out in the back and just hope for the best. See, this is the thing. Galadriel didn't need to tell Frodo he's gonna try and take the ring from you. Frodo already knows. It's pretty obvious. He's clearly becoming unraveled. So we need to just keep going. But Boromir thinks maybe we just, walk south and west and enter Minas Tirith across the Entwash into the lands of men. And Aragorn instead wants to go to the North Stair. Is that the thing with the sees the thing, and Frodo's gonna put the ring on there and see Sauron? And
yeah, that's where Amon Hen is. There's 2 hills, I think, on the other side of the bank. One is the Hearing Hill, one is the Seeing Hill.
Yeah. And so Aragorn and Legolas go scout forward. It's really foggy. They're trying to find a way across. They come back in a few hours, and they do. And so I wrote, I don't mind the camping descriptions, but I do mind that I have no idea what these landmarks are. There's Emyn Muil, the Tinned Rock, Sarngabir, the Gates of Argonath. I did realize what that one was. That's the big old statues.
Yeah.
That Naruto copied and made worse.
I think maybe part of the reason he's given you these is because it is mentioned on the map. So you can kind of gauge where they are.
I guess if I wanted to look at a map the entire time, Ben. I do see Emyn Muil on the map. Is that's where the North Stair is, right?
I thought the North Stair was on Amon Hen.
Okay. Are they not just part and parcel? They're 2 different things?
I think there's 2 different ones. I could be wrong though. Oh no, you're talking about okay. Does not reach end to end beyond the Emmen Mule. Sorry, the way you were saying it, I thought you were saying Ammon. It's Emmen.
Whatever.
No, I think that's another location further down the river.
Yeah, I mean, how hard could it be to get into Mordor, right? You get off on the east bank and you just
You get
walk
off on
on
the
through these
I-90,
marshes.
you go down.
Yeah. I'm looking at the map, it's like, look at that. You just go through some marshes and you'll be there.
Well, that's what they do.
Yeah, and like when you've got what we call magical elf cloaks, but the elves call just our everyday clothes, I don't see what the big deal is. You can like hide in plain sight. They'll blend in. Which they think is part of the reason the orcs miss them a ton and have trouble shooting them. Because they and their boats just blend in. They also talk about how time moved different in Lorien, and they talk about how the moon phase is off from where it should be because they don't know how much time actually they were in Lorien. Time moved different. It's a nice little explanation there.
I actually wanted to talk about that in a little bit more detail, but I was going to wait till we.
Well, you can talk about that pretty much now because they go through the gates of Argonath, and it's Isildur, and I assume that's his brother. They're carved in
Yeah.
on either side, and Aragorn looks like a king returning to his people. And surely the worst is behind us. We're going to be fine. Chapter 10, we are going to be triumphantly marching into Mordor and shoving this ring up Sauron's ass
That is
and
not
kicking him into the fire.
That is not the attitude of the party at all.
It is
right
not.
Now.
It is not. It's we're fucked. We're super fucked, and every day that goes by, we're just a little more fucked than the day before. Every day that we don't have a party of orcs on top of us is a day where we get to think about how we're going to have a party of orcs on top of us soon.
Amon Law is the hill of hearing that I was thinking of. Amon Hen is where the chair that lets him see far is. But yeah, no, Aragorn says, "Long have I desired to look upon the likenesses of Isildur and Anarion, my sires of old." Yeah, that's Isildur and his brother. Under their shadow, Elisar the Elfstone, son of Arathorn of the house of Valandil, Isildur's son, heir of Valandil, has naught to dread. Would that Gandalf were here! How my heart yearns for Minas Anor and the walls of my own city. But whither now shall I go? So Aragorn's still agonizing over the choice of he's supposed to go become a king, but he's got these little guys who are supposed to take the ring all the way into Mordor, and it would be ridiculous to send them off on their own. So he's very guilty about that. And this is a part of the choice that's not really highlighted in the movie, and we'll get into it more in the next chapter. But Frodo is also aware that Aragorn has this duty to his people, and that Aragorn had not signed up to take the ring to Mordor, and he is aware that Aragorn is having this hard time, and that is going to factor.
I'll take that away from you.
That's going to factor into Frodo's choice. He's not just doing it. He's not leaving them without saying anything because he's afraid. Like in the movie, they imply he's afraid Aragorn's going to take the ring, and then he's like, "Would you destroy it?" And he's like, "I would have followed you to the end." Blah blah blah. And yeah, it's not in the book, but that's for next chapter. So let's look at what Legolas says here, because we've been talking a lot about why the elves use these rings and why they're hanging out in Middle Earth, and this is pretty close to explaining exactly that. So, Legolas stirred in his boat. "Nay, time does not tarry ever," he said, "but change and growth is not in all things and places alike. For the elves the world moves, and it moves both very swift and very slow. Swift because they themselves change little, and all else fleets by. It is a grief to them. Slow because they do not count the running years, not for themselves. The passing seasons are but ripples ever repeated in the long stream. Yet beneath the sun all things must wear to an end at last. And this is where Frodo says, "But the wearing is slow in Lorien. The power of the lady is on it, rich are the hours, though short they seem, in Caras Galadhorn, where Galadriel wields the elven ring." And then Aragorn replies, "Shut the fuck up, Frodo.
Yeah.
Why do you keep doing this stuff?" But yeah, that's kind of, if you're looking for like a thesis statement for like what the elves represent physical immortality, like immortality in the material world. And I think if I could get a little douche philosophy here,
You can't. Sorry. End
I'm
of
going
episode.
to. No, I'm going to. I edit it. So I think Tolkien is exploring here what it means. A lot of human beings do a lot of stupid things in the pursuit of immortality, of survival.
For example, messaging people on Twitter so they could bear your children with your weird, possibly surgically fucked up penis.
Yeah, cringe shit like Elon Musk. And Tolkien's trying to say, look, what if you had it? What if you could be immortal? What would that be like? And this world that we're in, the reason God did not make you immortal is a blessing. Because for the elves, years fly by, but at the same time, they don't. And if you had an elf's eye view of the world, what would you be watching? And this is Tolkien sort of looking around at his own society as like the skies are choked with the smoke of industrialization. World wars are becoming increasingly violent. Like, granted, he picked, he didn't pick, but like he lived at a uniquely kind of rough time. And he's like, it all falls apart. It all rises up and crumbles and rises up and crumbles. And eventually you're just sick of it. Unless you have some kind of magical way of sustaining the natural world to live sort of as long as you do. Like,
yeah, it sounds awesome. And then when you're done, you just get on a boat and go to heaven.
Well,
yeah, don't give me immortality. Just let me live until I'm tired of living.
Well, this is the thing, though, Nate. They tried that with the Numenorians.
Yeah.
And the Numenorians fucked up worse than anyone else ever had.
I was not there when Numenor fell, okay? I can tell you, though, if someone wants me to fight God, I'm going to say no.
Tolkien writes about this. I think he writes about this in his letters. He might write about this in the appendices as well. It's with Numenor, they're given long life, and unfortunately, they don't get sick of it. They just they fear the end even more because now they have so much more to lose. They have so much more time to get attached.
Well, tell me what comes next. It'll make it real easy to be like, oh, I'm done.
I don't know.
Yeah.
God didn't tell me that.
Well, God should tell me that. Just between you and me, I won't go blabbing around like Frodo. I can keep a secret. Kind of.
For whatever reason, God decided not to tell you that.
Probably because he knew that the Numenorians would then not get sick of it, fear it, and then try to fight him.
Have you ever... This is a silly question for you. Have you ever read the Bible?
Define read.
Have you ever
read to me? I've had the gospel according to whatever over and over again.
Well, I'm not talking about the gospels. Do you remember Genesis?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember there's 2 trees in the Garden of Eden they're not allowed to eat from?
Oh, I only remember the one, but okay.
There's 2 trees. They're not allowed to eat from the tree of knowledge or from the tree of life. And when they eat from the tree of knowledge, they gain the knowledge. And one of the things God says before he casts out Adam and Eve is that he needs to cast them out before they can eat from the tree of life and live forever and become like us.
So they fucked up and went for the wrong tree, is what you're telling me.
It's actually, what I'm telling you is it's actually worse in the Bible. Like, if you got a problem with this, you got a problem with God.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was, maybe it was College Humor, I can't remember, but it was like God press conference, and he was like, guys, I don't know if you've read the Bible, but I just put Adam and Eve, told them not to eat from a tree, and then I just kind of left while Satan was hanging around the Garden of Eden. I am a shitty moderator or manager or whatever he said. Administrator. I'm a shitty administrator. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, actually, that checks out. Yeah.
I think there's a lesson. Now, whether or not you agree with this lesson is totally up to you, but I do think what Tolkien believes as a Catholic is that there's a lesson in humility there. God asked you not to do something. He created you. The least you could do is just listen to him. And they didn't do that. They tried to outsmart him, and they tried to sort of take things into their own hands, and they were punished
but I
for
wasn't
it.
there. So put me in the game, coach. I'm ready.
Put me in the game, coach. I'm better than Adam and Eve. I'm better than the man created by God's own hands. Like,
yeah, he hasn't learned. He hasn't learned
that's
my
the thing
lessons,
about humility.
You know? Yeah. Has Adam ever had a Nintendo Switch? I don't think he has.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
He did not have a Nintendo Switch.
Didn't Adam raise a child that then murdered his other child? I think that's what happened.
Yeah, he was. I mean, okay, you're making some points. I don't know that the good professor would enjoy. No, I'll be honest with you. Like, it is one where I think Tolkien, as a Catholic, is trying to answer some of these questions in a Catholic way. And I think the lesson here is faith and obedience. That your faith and your obedience will be rewarded, and your efforts.
Yeah, when God tells you to murder your child, you murder your fucking child.
He's probably not serious.
Probably not.
It's probably another one of God's funny jokes.
He does love his funny jokes.
He's a funny guy. If you read it with, like, you read the Old Testament, he's got a sense of humor. Yeah, him and ask Job. Ask Job. It was really funny. What guy?
You're building a tower that's supposed to reach into the heavens. Let me just make it so none of you can understand each other, and I'm gonna punch it. I'm gonna punch that tower into the ground.
Quit trying to come up here. I kicked you out. No, there's a lot of those stories that are about, like, hubris and now obviously, like, God, it's complicated. I don't want to get into a whole theology thing, but that's where Tolkien's morality is coming from. The elves are a different kindred. I've always kind of wondered why Tolkien, as a Catholic, wanted to create 2.5 species of intelligent, sentient humanoid creature.
I like how dwarves are half a species.
They're kind of just little people that live for a long time. Dwarves are weird.
Wow.
But
wow.
Like, the elves were the big thing for him. Like, he wanted to imagine, like, what if God had also created the fairy folk? And why would he have done that? Why did he create 2 kindreds? Why did he make this one immortal and more magical and more powerful? And why did he make this one mortal and, subject to sickness and
yeah, thanks God.
Yeah, it is kind of
big fan.
I think that's part of what he's trying to say, though, is
it's like you know how people are like, well, why is there suffering in the world if God exists? And it's like, at the very least, God also didn't put like a a sentient race of immortal supermen just floating on the moon or something. Like,
they still
look at them.
suffer.
They're awesome.
They still suffer. The elves do.
I'm sorry. I guess you'll have to get in your boat and go to your magical paradise across the sea, you fucks.
Even that is not going.
You still suffer. It would sure suck if you had 3 magic rings that could just maintain all your shit.
It did
We
suck.
had 9 rings. Didn't work out for us, but I guess you get 3 rings and they're better than all the other rings. Yeah, that's cool.
That's the elves' version of rebellion. And eventually the elves are going to suffer for it too, because their kingdoms
I
are
don't
going to
see
come
God
under
killing
assault.
their entire species the way he sank Numenor and bent the earth. I'm just saying, maybe don't play favorites, okay? God.
He's not. I think Tolkien's
let me have a talk with you, God.
Tolkien's point is that if he was playing favorites, men are the favorites. Because men are the ones that die and leave the world, presumably to go be with God. Men are the ones God wants to hang out with.
But first, you got to go through the meat grinder on Middle Earth. First, you have to have Sauron curb stomping you, and all your teeth explode out of your head, and then he stabs you before you can go to God.
Look, as Tolkien was sitting in a trench, dodging poison gas and bullets, and trying to figure out why a just and loving God would let this happen,
he was like, he just wants to hang out with us.
Yeah, he just wants to hang out with us.
He just wants more of us to hang out with. That's why he developed poison gas.
He didn't.
Thanks God.
I think he does heavily rely, as a Catholic, he heavily relies on the presence of the devil interfering with things. Now, why does God allow the devil to do that? I don't know, but it's not God's idea. Even though this
is all part of God's plan,
though. You need to be humble. You need to not. You're not going to understand that plan, man.
That would be awesome if any failing or shortcoming can be blamed on someone else, and then also you knew it was going to happen anyway, and it was all part of your plan. I think that's how Donald Trump got elected, actually.
A lot of Christians voted for Donald Trump. It's in Tolkien's world, it's a little easier, I guess, because Iluvatar is real.
Are you saying God's not real, Ben? I'm going to write you a strongly worded letter.
There are people on the planet, like Manwë exists in Arda and can talk to God and has met him, and all the other Valar have also met God and they've been around, and even the presence of the Valar kind of provides some evidence for the fact that there probably is a God. And the elves
now he just shows up on our toast.
Yeah, the elves.
It's not even God; it's his son. So,
Look, I think in Middle Earth, it's a lot more credible. In our world, you got to take a lot more on faith. Like Aragorn doesn't have to take nearly as much on faith. He was raised by a magical man whose mother-in-law had met the gods themselves.
And that magical man is like, if you become king, you'll get to hit that.
Yeah. When he thinks about Arwen, it's not hard to believe in God.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. Didn't expect to get into that this chapter, but there we are.
All right. Next chapter is the final chapter, Ben.
It's the final
Fellowship
chapter.
Breaks for some lunch.
And after that chapter, it is important to let you guys know, this podcast is going to break for lunch, as we did between The Hobbit and briefly between book 1 and 2 of Fellowship. We're going to be taking another brief pause on talking about Tolkien, probably about 4 weeks. Sort of catch back up on some of the editing we need to do for this, and God willing, work ahead for once in our lives, but we'll see.
Yeah, God. Just digging myself deeper. He's got a sense of humor, though. He's got.
Nah, let's be real. If he doesn't have a sense of humor, we're both fucked.
Yeah.
If he's there, I do have some questions. But yeah.
All right. Later, I guess.
Later.
The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow it, if I can, pursuing it with eager feet until it joins some larger way, where many paths and errands meet. And whither then, I cannot say.